What's up, my dudes? Just gonna come in here and talk about this whole Supercross coming back thing and having like 7 rounds in the same stadium, 2 races a week. It's pretty insane when you actually think about that. We've never really had that before. They might have done that way back at some Supercross year that I'm not thinking of or something, but not in any of the recent past, right? So it's pretty interesting when you think about like them trying to change up the track enough, not only in a like a time sense, I think the races are going to be like on Sunday and Wednesday or something like that. So just trying to get enough time to change the track enough is going to be part of the challenge. But the other part of the challenge is trying to like actually get a different track each round and not just feeling like you're riding on the exact same track. You know what I mean? Like that's part of it too. But typically they have a lot more time to change things on a track than just like a few days. But maybe they can pull it off if they're like 24 hours on it, and they kind of go in there and totally change up directions of the track and totally change certain like rhythm section areas. That's what's going to be a little bit bizarre if like there's one big main rhythm section on the track, and it's like that on all the rounds. They might go in there and change up other stuff, but like that one big main rhythm line might be in the exact same place, like where certain things are laid out, and the sort of layout of it all might be very similar on each one of these Salt Lake City rounds. And that's going to be really bizarre to see that. Obviously, the dirt's going to be very similar on all the rounds, which is pretty unprecedented. Like, usually with Supercross, they're going from Seattle to, whatever, some sort of hard-packed Anaheim 1, and then you go to St. Louis, then you go to Atlanta, and, you got all these different dirt compounds. It's going to be pretty bizarre doing, like, 7 rounds on the exact same dirt compound, right? That's going to be a little bit weird as far as, like, how everybody's setting up their bike. I feel like you're going to see people going a lot faster on the track, especially when we get to like round 3 and 4, or I guess it's technically like round like 13 and 14, right? But round 3 and 4 on these tracks particularly, right, in the Salt Lake City stadium, right? Like, I really think you're going to start seeing a lot of dudes going a lot faster than normal because they're going to have their setups freaking dialed in for this kind of dirt, this kind of traction, this kind of jump design, roughness, and that's the things you're not really going to be able to change like in just a few days on one track. You're not hauling in a whole different kind of dirt, you're not like, I don't know, maybe if it rains on one of them, it'll make it kind of different, but that's about the only thing I could think of that would really create much of a different like racing experience on the track as far as the way the actual track is. So that part of it all is going to be really like one of a kind, unprecedented, right? It's going to be super bizarre, but it'll be interesting to watch either way. But yeah, it's just like I don't think there's going to be nowhere near as much like bike tuning, bike adjustment. There will in the first race in Seattle, or not Seattle, my bad, Salt Lake City. God, I get confused on all these little rounds. Like the first Salt Lake City that's coming up here in a day or two, depending on when I upload this video. I might upload this on the day that the race is happening, but that first race, it's gonna take them a minute to kind of get. It's gonna be like a normal round in that first race, but once we get to like round, like I say, 14 and 15, it's gonna start getting really bizarre, really weird. Like, oh yeah, we're back on that same track for the 5th time in a row. There's just a couple little sections changed up, like just a little bit, right? It's going to be really weird like that. I'm glad they got Daytona over with, because I'm glad they at least had that in the season, right? Because that would have been weird, like not having a Daytona, and then somebody winning the title and there's no Daytona. I'm really glad they was able to at least do that round. But yeah, what a bizarre turn of events. this year has had so far. Like crazy. Like what is going on? I'm still like living in a world like none of this even happened. Like it was some weird little nightmare. I'm gonna snap out of it real quick. Like I literally I just don't know what's even going on, bro. Super weird. But yeah, racing will be fun to watch. We got them back to back to back to back to back, it looks like. And then outdoors right after that, right? So either way, got some Supercross at least. So I guess the sort of like defense to all that is the fact that like these dudes racing Supercross have their helmets on, full gear, all that kind of stuff. So theoretically, it's almost like they're wearing a mask in a way, even though they're not. So I guess that's kind of how they justify, the riders being able to go out there with no mask and just their helmets on and race, and then they're not having any media, not having any fans in the stands. Just that no fans in the stands, that's going to be really weird. And especially if they're doing like day races, it's going to feel a lot more like a little practice race instead of a actual legit Monster Indy Supercross, heat races and main events. It's going to seem more like a little qualifying session. It's going to look more like a little qualifying session, and that's going to be a little weird. I hope nobody gets injured from the no track walk. That would be disappointing. I don't think it's going to hurt any of those top guys, but some of those more like, C-class pro dudes that don't really sit there and ride on Supercross tracks all day long, it could definitely affect those dudes not being able to do a track walk and just having to go out there and practice all of a sudden. There's that line, Spence. So that's a little bizarre. I think track walk would have been okay to do as long as everybody stayed, apart from each other. I think that would have been okay. But I guess they're just taking every single little precaution possible. It's just so weird how many precautions. I mean, they were testing everybody before they even went into the stadium. I saw them testing Roxon, testing Brayton. Wouldn't that suck if, like, one of those dudes had it and didn't really know they had it, didn't have any symptoms of it, then they won't be let to race, and then they lose the title. Wouldn't that suck? So hopefully that doesn't happen to anybody, but either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.